Hey everyone, we're now live. Welcome back to Web Squadron. We're live on YouTube, and today, I hope the quality's okay, because I noticed a bit of lag and buffering a moment ago going through YouTube, but I hope it's coming through okay. Hey, we're going to be looking at the new Elementor update that's coming out very, very soon, 3.5. Probably be another week or so when it's going to be out on wide release for everyone. 3.5. You do still need to have Elementor Pro to use some of the features, but even still, the features such as word spacing, text stroke, dragging from your desktop, these are beautiful, beautiful things that are now available for everyone out there to use, and I'm really, really excited about them. But the feature we're going to be looking at is transform. Now, I've already played around with that, and I think it's a great, neat little feature, but I think it's going to be even better if we experiment and play around with it. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. So I'm just going to change my camera around like that. There we go. Hey, by the way, I'm using OBS. Hey, no lag. Cool. It's really weird, Delia, because like on OBS, which is what I'm using, there's a bit of a lag. And you know, when you see a lag, you start to get sweat and you start worrying about what can people see. Anyway, so I did a video 2 days ago on Elementor 3.5 and it was, people liked it, but I felt the transform feature is something we need to play around with. So I'm just going to show you what that is. I'm going to drop in a header over here. I'm just going to make this section be about 600 and we're going to make this header be a central header. I'm just going to call it text like so. All right, nothing fantastical here, right? We're just kind of doing basic Elementor here, and 100 from the margin. Now this feature, if you've got the Elementor Beta 3.5 installed, and I would always recommend, please do not install this unless you have a staging or a fake website, a staging website, a testing one like what I have, because if you do this on a live website, things will break. It always happens, something like a CSS code or something just breaks. So always do it on a test site. Now, if we go over to advanced, underneath motion effects, we now have transform. Now, a lot of these features you could have done with CSS code. I mean, most of us have used a transform rotate CSS at some point in our lives to rotate stuff. I mean, look, rotate. Here we go. Look, we're rotating now. Well, hey, wonderful. Let's just put that back to 0. Dead simple. But now you don't have to worry about the CSS code. Especially for those of you that maybe didn't have Elementor Pro or whatever, and you were wondering about where do I stick the code. So this is dead good. But what I really like is the fact that we now have the rotate options. If I now just do this and I hover over it, it's going to rotate. There is this stutter effect I find. You get that even with CSS coding, to be honest. You know, when you see Jim Fahad, loads of people out there, I do some CSS with column reveals. You're always going to get this stutter effect. It is a bit annoying, but you kind of have to wonder about, well, you got to be careful with how you apply it. Even still, the transform effect, I think, is brilliant. Rotate, offset. So, when you hover over it or when you go near it, you can now offset its positioning. Sorry, let me just... Oh, sorry, I'm still in the hover. Right, offset. We can start to offset it. It's a bit like your left-right margin in a way. But again, it gives you a bit of flexibility, especially if you're using it as a hover. Scaling, skewing, flip horizontal and vertical are my favorites, I have to say. You know when you drop it an image and you go, oh, I want that image to be the other way around? I go into Media Library, I load a copy of the image and then I flip it. So I have 2 versions of the image. Well, now you can do it on the fly using the same image. How good is that? But the really beauty is when you take an image. So if I take an image from my desktop over here, this is dragged from my desktop and I just drop it in here now at the moment, that will be loaded into my media library. Okay, that image. Now, there is a warning I will give about this though. That image will be brought over as it was from your desktop. So if that is a 2 megabyte image, it will come over and it sits in your media library, and then you're going to have to run your optimization kits. I use bulk resizephotos.com. Super good and free. You can dump 100 images in one go and it converts them into WebP. and then you dump them into WordPress. No need for 2 or 3 different plugins. So I would say if you're going to do that, get your images, compress them first in your desktop or your document folder or your downloads, and then drag them over. Trust me, it works, and it's better than taking over 50 megabytes worth of images. Now, one feature I do feel is missing from Transform, and I wish they had done it, and it would have been opacity. What do I mean by that? Let's say you've got an image on here, okay, or some text. You could have set the opacity to be 0, right? So it's not even there. But when the user comes down, maybe towards a button or towards a product, or just like maybe you've put an arrow and they come down the page or whatever, you could have had an entire section reveal itself. Can you imagine? You got a section with a massive image with some text, and when they hover over it, it reveals. Now you could do that with some CSS coding. It's just a lot of hassle, and I really hope they do add that in. I've mentioned it, and I think a few other people have added it on as well. Opacity is missing. Now here's the drawback at the moment to the transform feature. You can basically do it to any element you want. Accordion, images, videos, whatever you want, you can do it. But if you go to column and you go to it, transform is no longer there. If you go to section, it is no longer there. Now it makes common sense. Why would you have a transform on a section? Because the section is kind of, you know, you can mess around with the width, you can mess around with the height, but you wouldn't want the section to suddenly start doing funky stuff like that, right? But with the column, it would have been kind of nice, but I can see why not again. Can you imagine having 2 columns on a page and one of the columns is like that? You're going to be in for a world of pain when you start working responsively with that on a tablet and a mobile. So I kind of get it, but I wouldn't have minded seeing something along those lines added on. Oh yeah, so question from Della, sorry, I said Delia earlier, Della. It's going to just quickly mention, if I just quickly do this, it's bulkresize.photos.com. I'm going to dump the text into here, by the way, so if anyone wanted to know. So it's bulkresize.photos.com. I definitely recommend you go to this. I did a video on this about 4 or 5 weeks ago. You'll see it in my YouTube. But what you do is you drop your images into here. I'm going to drop an image in. You can drop 100. Tiny PNG and other places only allow you to do up to 20. You can drop 100. You then say you want the images to still be 100% of the size. Don't scale it because you lose the quality. And then over here, you say WebP. And then you do that. And I'm telling you, look at that. 840 kilobytes gone to 58. It's gone to WebP format. Okay? It's not just gone... I don't even know what it was before, actually. I think it's a JPEG I've got. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's converted it down. Dead cool. And then you take your file and you stick it into WordPress and job done. And I think this is really cool, and you've got to go for it. Okay, cool. So bulk size photos. So I'm going to leave that there. bulkresize.photos.com. I hope that helps you, Della. So back to what we were focusing on here. I wanted to see, could we play around with transform and do some funky stuff? So what if I added in a image like so, and I'm going to pick from this image, let's go for this image here of this person. Okay, I don't know who they are. You know, they could be anybody. I'm now going to add in another image. In fact, I'm going to duplicate this image that I've got over here at the moment. And I'm going to change this image to be, let's go for this one here. People in a nightclub doing whatever they're doing. Okay. Now, if I take this image and I go to advanced and I go to positioning, what I'm going to say for the position is, sorry, not the position, the width, is I'm going to say make this a custom width. So that image is now custom width. I'm now going to go to the second image, and again I'm going to go to advanced, positioning, and I'm again going to say custom. Okay, now, oops, sorry, I think I've done that wrong. Why is that not working? Right, yeah. So I've now got 2 images. I'm going to pick this image up. In fact, it's probably going to work better if I did it as inline, but however, don't worry about that. No, I will do that because I need to make a point of what I'm doing here. I'm going to just pick this image. I'm going to go back to my section. Sorry, I got this wrong. I'm going to go to my section and make this a boxed width of 1200. I'm going to go over to this image now, and I'm going to make the width of this image be 600. And I'm going to make the width of this image also be a pixel of 600, like that. Okay, and I might as well make the max width be 600 as well. It's always good practice to do that. If you do your width, do your max width as well. Otherwise, it kind of isn't a great way to be working on pages and stuff like that. So this image, if I go to the advanced and I go to the positioning, if I go to absolute and I just make the second image absolute as well. There we go. Let me just do this. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Positioning, and we're going to make the position over here be fixed as well. What I can now do is I'm just going to pick these images and position them to be a certain way. So I'm going to have these images. Okay, I've created a bit of a problem here, haven't I? Let me just undo that. Okay, right, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put this back. Stay with me, okay? I'm going to put these back to what I had before. Right, I'm going to pick the second image, and I'm just going to do a negative margin over here. Like so. Let me get rid of that navigator. And I'm going to do about minus 200. And then just kind of shrink it down. Stay with me on this, okay? This is going to make sense in a moment. So I'm basically going to have an image and another image that's going to sit completely behind it, like so. So we've got image and we've got another image behind. If I now go to, by the way, I am playing around and messing around with this, okay? So this might not work what I'm trying to achieve here. If I go to image 1 and I give it a Z index of 1, that image should now be in front. If I now go to image 2, I'm going to give that a Z index of, I'm going to give that a Z index of 1 and give the person image an index of 2. I'm totally getting this wrong at the moment, aren't I? And I think the images are the wrong size. Are they the wrong size? They look like they're the wrong size to me as well. How bizarre is that? The images are the wrong size. Right, let me just go to the style. I'm going to make it a pixel of 300. And I'm going to make it be a cover and make image 1 also be... Sorry about this because I've done it wrong here. I forgot the images were the wrong size. Silly, silly me. Right, so image 2, I'm just going to drop this now down to go to about there like that. Now, what I'm trying to experiment with is, can you hover over image 1 and it moves out the way? So if I go to image 1, which currently sits in front, okay, if I go to advanced and I go to transform and I go to hover, this is where the opacity would have been really good. You just hover over and it disappears. But if I was to go to rotate, not rotate, sorry, ignore that. If we go to offset, can I offset it? So can I offset it and go like, say, so I don't know, let's go with 500 over that way and let's update it. So what I now, and this is where you get the stutter effect. So you will notice it, you can't miss it, okay? So if you imagine I've got loads of sections now, and on here I've got maybe like click here or come here or hover to reveal the secret coupon or the secret product kind of thing. If you do that, it now moves out the way like that. But I will say though, can you see that stutter effect? Wait, let me get it again. It's just there. It's like it's trying to move, but it doesn't want to move properly. And I feel like that's a slight problem. And I feel like I bet there's something like Maxime or someone, I'll have a word with them, is can we add something into the code that's going to make it feel a little bit more smoother in what it does? Because I think that's a little bit annoying in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Does anyone have any view about that? Like, would that put you off if you were working on something and all of a sudden it started kind of like stuttering like that? You know, I mean, how do you feel about that? So if I was to go over here now, if I didn't want to have the offset, I could though do the scale. So if I now say keep proportions and I say scale it to 0, that is a neater feature in my opinion. Watch this now. So this almost is a little bit like the opacity one I'm talking about. So now it completely disappears. Look, I hover and that. And that's quite neat, that feature, because rather than it growing, which is what people tend to do, you hover and the button grows, the image grows. now you could actually do something like that. So it is now, in effect, disappearing. Which I think, again, I think is pretty cool, pretty neat. The skew one, I'm on the fence about this one, okay? And I'll tell you why. If I do this, right, it's just a little bit, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a little bit, I just don't, the 3D effect, it's one of those things where I feel like it could work, but then again, I feel like, well, is it really going to satisfy what you want? And again, but you know, the flipping, I think that's great, but again, I think that's mainly you're only going to really do when you've got an image, you add it in, and you go, oh, that's my image. It's the wrong way around. There you go, just flip it, and it is now always going to be flipped in the right way around for you. So I think there are some benefits. So Ralph has said, annoying, yes. Isn't there an ease out option or fade out? No, there isn't. And this is where you might have to add in some extra CSS code. Yeah, so like Sumo said, a CSS at keyframe ease out. And that's where you'd have to stick some code in. I'm not a massive coder, by the way. I have to learn code and apply it to what I'm doing. So if anyone's got any code they want to stick in the comments, please do, and we'll quickly try it out and apply it. But I do think that the scale one, you know, where you can kind of, let me just turn off the proportions. So if I turn off the proportions and I now do that, okay, that's a bit of a funny one, isn't it? That is weird. Hold on, that's why. Let me put it back onto hover. Let me do scale. Keep proportions. No. So, you know, I do think that's quite a neat little feature, I have to say. So I am liking that, the fact that you can do that you can scale out. Now, again, like I said, there's so much you could do with where you could start to have like, let me just go back to my navigator. Let me get rid of that text or that image that we had there. Let me add a text block, okay? And this text block, I'm going to go give it a background color of, let's go with this color here. It's a rubbish color, I know. Don't kill me for that. I'm really sorry, everyone. I just have weird color systems in my test pages and when I'm doing things. I have this weird color scheme. Look at it. I mean, my color scheme, because I build so many different sites. By the way, make sure you check out my YouTube channel tomorrow, GMT UK time, 9 AM. I have just done this. Okay, I better quickly show you because I think you're going to love this when you see it. This tutorial is about an hour long. Okay, you got to make sure you check this out. Okay, so this is a scrolling website. Okay, using Elementor, no extra plugin. Elementor shared the code 2 days ago, but I've taken it further and I'm going to show you step by step how I created this website. All right, so make sure you tune in tomorrow, 9 AM. The video will be live. Right, so now we've got this text editor here. If I go to advanced and I now just give it a negative margin like so, okay, it's disappearing behind because that image has got a Z index, okay? Of course, you're probably going to make your sizing better and correct and everything like that. But again, this is where you could have some additional content or something that sits behind, you know, secret code. You know, do you want to get infinity lives on Minecraft? I think you can already get it on Minecraft, but hey, do you want to get infinity lives? You know, you hover over it and then the code or coupons are revealed, especially if you've got any like products you're trying to sell. You know, imagine you've got like a category and in that category you got a picture of a trainer or someone wearing trainers. Okay, it's going to move my camera a little bit because I'm slightly in the middle. And you got some you know, someone's wearing trainers or they're jumping off a wall or whatever. And when they hover over that, it reveals the product. No, even better. You got an image, right? You got an image, or a vertical image. It's a tall image of someone. They're out, you know, walking to the shops on the street. You know, it's got their clothes, their top, their bottom, their scarf, whatever they're wearing. Okay, you hover over it, right? And when you hover over the head, maybe that section, because it might be a split image. Think about it. You could have 4 images: the head, the upper torso, the lower legs and the shoes, but it's the same image, but it's been cut. You hover over the head, it flips or skews out or moves out the way, and now you've got a product reveal of the hat with the price. you click the buy now button. You know the button I'm talking about. This one over here. So if you do woo, where's it gone? Woo cart. Woo cart. No, type in cart, in fact. Don't type in woo cart. This button here, custom add to cart. You drag that in. You use the dynamic tag for that button over here to pick your product. So I'm just going to type ninja. So we've got, pick, I don't know, woo ninja, whatever. You click that, it will now add it to your cart. Let's get rid of that. You go down to the torso. You hover over it. It skews or moves or whatever. Disappears however you want to do it. And now you have the products for the top, the jumper, the shirt, the blouse, whatever you got. Same with the trousers. Same with the shoes. So you can actually take these things and apply them in a clever way than what you normally would have done. We tend to use hotspots. We tend to have just a featured image. Make it more interactive, right? People love interactivity. And if you've got a vertical image, well, that's going to work on a mobile as well, right? In fact, let's just check what this looks like. Let's go to the mobile view, right? So obviously you'd have to mess around with the margins. I'm not going to do that, but you'd mess around with the margins, the negative and top. But you scroll over it and it disappears. I mean, I can't do it with my finger. Pretend my finger is going over there right now as I do it. Ding! Right. And it's going to kind of disappear and go out of the way. And I think, again, neat little feature. Things like that, okay? So, and I've put an image in here. Let's just go to this image. I've put an image of a person. Let's just go in and stick something else in. Let's go for something like that, right? So this is now, as I hover over it, like... In fact, let's try something else, okay? Let's stay on this image. Let's go to advanced. Let's go to transform. And let us say that when you are over it, it scales, well, it scales to X. No, sorry, it starts as a negative. And when you go to it, it goes back to 0. No, it didn't do anything there. Okay, so what about if we do a 1? That's unusual, isn't it? Because I was expecting that if you're over the image and you've set the scale now to be like 0 or even... Now, why did... keep proportion, of course, that's why. So if I have this set to 0, why is it when I hover over it not revealing? That's a little bit... I think that's a flaw, in my opinion. So let me now just make it a little bit size. So there we go. We set it as 0.2. And on the when you hover over it, I want it to scale up to 1.7. Okay, it works. But I do think that is a flaw, because if I've gone and put this as a 0, it should scale up. Why is it not scaling up? Why do I have to do like, okay, let's do 0. Let's try 0.01. So there's a little dot there. And look, and now it scales. That is, I think that's a bit of a flaw. So if I do 0.00001, so now there is no dot, you can't even see it. It doesn't work. So I'm going to raise that with them and say, guys, it should still show. I shouldn't have to have a bit of a dot before it appears. But again, I think with a bit of clever, look, if you've got another image here, let's do this section, right? Okay, let's just put a background section into here, because then the dot won't matter, will it? Let's go for this image here. Okay, we'll make it a cover like that. So we've got an image over there, right? And we've got a bit of text. And when you come down and hover over it, surprisingly, that's not working. So I think there's some flaws in it in terms of how it applies or how it's meant to look. Or maybe it's because I wasn't over the image. So if I put this down to 0.1, okay, no, 0.01. If I hover over it, it's not appearing. And I feel like I could sit here and play all day. Now I've got a 0.1 image and now it appears. So I think there are some little problems with it, I think, that still need to be ironed out in terms of how the transform works. But again, it is still probably my favourite feature. The text stroke is brilliant as well. And I know we're concentrating on the transform, but I do think the fact that you can now, add in your text. Okay, let's make it completely transparent in colour. Text stroke is now available. Let's make it a white colour. And now I can actually do this. Go back to my typography. You know, I mean, this is pretty good, in my opinion. I mean, this was easy with CSS code. I did a video on it not long ago. This was pretty simple. Just a little bit of code, and it did it for you. But again, it just means that for those of you that are a little bit uncomfortable with CSS coding, or you just don't like doing it, again, I think this is a really neat little feature, and I think it is something that you should use a lot more on your websites. Now, I've been talking about 25 minutes, and there's only so much you can talk about, if I'm honest, on transform and skew and rotate and things like that, and text stroke as well, and dragging in from the desktop. But has anyone got any questions about any of those features? So Ralph has said, starting at 0, multiplying that at hover still is 0. Well, yeah, that suddenly did crop in my mind. It's just a bit annoying that what I found was even at 0.00001, I still would have expected it to have done it. But then again, I suppose when you think about it, 0.0001 times 2 is just going to be, you know, it's probably, you know, scaled up by 200% is going to be probably a little bit too tiny. So, you know what, Ralph, you are making a very valid, good point. And I should have realised that, but it did start cropping up in my mind that as well. Let me just drop myself back down to a circle. I'm using OBS, by the way, and I hope the quality on the camera is coming out good because I'm using my iPhone as a webcam now. Camo on the iPhone is super, super good. It's free, but you got to pay a little bit if you want to get the transfer streaming or whatever you want to call it to the phone, to the computer. So I think that some of these features that we now have with the transform are going to open our creativity in how we can apply it and just start to do amazing things. I mean, look here. Can I flip? Ah, no, I hadn't tried that yet. I can even flip out. I mean, why would you want to do that? Why? But it's kind of a neat feature, isn't it? I mean, look, if I took this and I duplicated it, right? And I went back over to here and I undid it. I'm not saying, let me just get myself out of the view here so you can see it. I'm not saying you would do this, right? But can you imagine doing something like this, Bose? If I just go over here to the text and I just change this to say, I don't know, dance, like that, right? And I put it in here as well. Okay, I don't know about you, but I think there's some potential here, right? For you to now start doing something a little bit crafty and creative here. I mean, of course, you could have done this with the rotate button, to be honest, right? But you can now. I mean, if we click on this one here, we go to transform and we go to rotate. If I go for, say, 90, we now have, let me get rid of this text box for a moment. We now have the wording like that. I mean, that's already, okay, I don't know about you, but let's just go over here. Let's just add in some padding of about 100 and 100 like that. Let's do a 0 there. Let's go to the section. Let's do a 0 gap, and we're going to say the minimum height is 100. Get rid of that. 100. There we go. Right. I mean, we now have like we now have something a little bit just like words going on there. And again, I think this is something that you could now do. How quick did I do that? I was just playing around. I said, let's just put some text in. Let's transform it. Let's position it. You've almost started creating graffiti on a wall without even a spray can. Yes, so this, I think, is just creativity in the way that you can do things. And I think this is super, super good. You know, I really do think that I'm going to have a lot of fun now. Of course, I would say, though, it all depends on your client. And if your client doesn't want to mess around with stuff, or they go, oh, no, just keep it all steady and whatever, fine. But with a bit of inspiration, I think you can start doing some amazing, amazing stuff. Has anyone got any questions about anything we've covered? You know, and I'm sorry if, like, I seem to be jumping around a little bit with my wording and what I'm doing, because this is mainly just a experimenting, testing session that we're doing at the moment. But I think, you know, you can seriously do some wonderful, wonderful stuff here. Bear in mind though, when you use text stroke, you want to make sure maybe the weighting of your lettering isn't too heavy. Because I mean, you know, sorry, not too heavy. Heavy is okay, just don't make it too small, otherwise you will get that effect. So the text, the whole text stroke is just completely evaporated, all right? But you know, if you play around with it, you can get your text to be quite nice there. So there you go. I mean, it's now 8:30. I'm here for another 10 minutes if anyone's got any questions or anything they want to talk about. But I do think that if you play around with the transform functionalities, you know, like over here, like, you know, things zooming in and out when you hover over them without applying any code is just a great way to go with playing around with Elementor. And like I said, make sure you tune in tomorrow on the YouTube if you want to see how. Let me get myself out of the way. Let me get myself out of the way there. There we go. How we did this, okay? And it's like, I'm just going to like scroll with my mouse. I'm not even using the scroll, but I'm just scrolling with my mouse. This is using the Elementor code that they released a couple of days ago, but I'm going to show you how you could basically do a scrolling website. And importantly, how do you have a fixed header or a fixed menu bar? By the way, you do have to do tons more coding if you want this to link to your different sections on your scroll page, which I don't recommend. But if you wanted to go to another page, that's what this will do over here. This is the test website, by the way, okay? So don't sit there going, oh, who's this person? How many Amandas do you have working for you? This is all fake, okay? This is all fake. But tomorrow, 9 AM on YouTube, this video, how to do this. It's only, I think it's about 58 minutes long, but it goes through step by step how I built every single bit on here. None of this is templates, okay? This is all built. Right, so anyone got any questions? And if there are no questions, I might log off in about 5 minutes, but play around with transform. I'm still not convinced about the skew, but I still do think that when you start to mess around with images like that, and you stick in an image of, say, let's go with this image here, okay? The fact that you can now go, oh, it's the wrong way round. You don't have to. Sorry, let me put myself back on view there. Rather than you like picking in or dragging in another image into your media library, you can now just go over here and you just go flip horizontal. You know, job done. And if you go to hover and we go to scale and we put that to 0, well, now when you hover over it, the image disappears, right? I mean, that is just amazing. So you might have, I mean, you could, in fact, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try something, okay? I'm going to get rid of everything we've done there, and I'm going to have a section, okay? And I'm going to make this section be a height, a minimum height of, we'll go with 400 pixels. And I'm going to drop an image in. And this image, I'm going to go for this person here. Okay, and I'm going to go with a full. And I'm going to go to style. And I'm going to say that the height of this is 400. 400 image, and I'm going to make it a cover. Whoa, that just I think that looks totally wrong now, doesn't it? Let's just get rid of that then. Right, okay, so I've got an image there, right? I'm now going to go to my section. And in the background of my section, I'm going to put a completely different image. Let's go for this one here, okay? And I'm going to make it be a top center cover. This won't look good, by the way. I know it won't because I'm just, we'll make it a fixed background, whatever we want to do. This image, okay, if I had done it correctly, in fact, I haven't done it correctly. Let me just go over here. Let me go to layout and say no gap, right? This image, right, at the moment is going to fill up the, well, it's not filling up the screen. If I played around with the margins and paddings and whatever. If I go to this image, right, and I go to transform, and on hover, I say the scale of this is 0, okay? Watch what happens now when I scroll over this image. You see that? We now have something else revealed behind. And you move away and it comes back again. So you could literally have like an image and then you scroll over. I mean, you got to be careful though. The more you move your mouse, you get this stuttering effect going on. But if you move your mouse over it, I mean, I'm trying not to move my mouse. Come on, there you go. you could have further information, you know, like you could have a picture of a house. And you hover over it, and it now shows behind comes the architecture, or like, you know, a bird's eye view, or whatever you want to do. You can have a picture of a person, you hover over it, and now you see the muscles and the skeleton. A car, the outside, and then the interior engine. So there are ways that you could make this really work for you in quite a funky way. Or maybe you don't have it as a scale, you have it as an offset. So let's just get rid of the that, and instead of the offset, I'm going to do a Y offset, like that. So when you now hover over it, the image moves down. Again, the stutter effect is a bit of a weird one that you just got to watch out for. So Ralph has just said, so Ralph is saying, is this built with the Pro version? So, oh no, sorry, are you talking about the tutorial I did with the Elementor, the horizontal scroll? I did not use any Elementor Pro features. So that's one thing I want to make clear here. So all I've done is used sections. So by the way, this is the question I think he's referring to. So this website here that I built, yes, it's built with Elementor Pro. However, there are no Elementor Pro bits used. No CSS coding. The coding you can do within your page sections and stuff like that. Page settings, sorry, I meant. So everything you do not need Elementor Pro. So I want to make that really, really clear, okay? So it's basically just sections, some inner sections, because what we got over here, by using inner section, that's how I was to maintain absolute equality in the sizing, and it also meant it worked really well when you came to do this bit as well. But join in tomorrow. That tutorial is live. But yeah, anyone can do it. It's free. You know, there's no extra plugins. But back to the transform function. I think that the stutter effect is going to annoy people, I think, especially when you're on a mobile, you know, and let me just put the stutter, let me put the offset back in for this one. If we go to the mobile here now, obviously I haven't done the right sizes for the way this is showing, but can you see that like there? It's like that, and I find it just that annoys me. But I would say if you use it carefully, you could really, really make it work for you. Yeah, well, it's yeah, Ralph, it's 9 o'clock GMT. In fact, it will be live in 12.5 hours time. Make a note, 12.5 hours, go to our YouTube channel, and that tutorial, step by step, will be live for you, okay? It's 58 minutes. I do section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, and then we make it horizontal, and then we do the fixed menu as well at the top, so that it's always present no matter how many times you scroll. So if you want to jump around the pages. Now, I am going to start to wind down now, mainly because there's only so much you can say about transform and stuff like that. But I really hope that if there are any bugs with it, they sort them out. I think it's a neat, super, super neat feature that I'm going to be looking forward to using once it's fully out live. And I would say just have fun. Play around with it. And, you know, like I said, text stroke. Super, super good. Dragging in from your desktop. You know, please don't forget. Look, I'm going to take an image. In fact, look, there's a video. I could drop a video in. I'm not going to drop this video in because that's 400 megabytes in size and it will kill off my site. But I can drop an image in. That image that I've just added in now, if I just hit update and I go to my media library, it'll probably be there twice, I bet, because I dragged it in twice. That image is now in there. But remember, it is the full size. It hasn't dragged in the WebP format. So I will always say, before you drag in any images, compress and convert them down to WebP format. I know there are people out there saying, hey, WebP, not every operating system is ready for that. But I'm one of those that says, if you haven't updated your system or your phone or whatever, that will be a minority of the global world, and I would rather to go for the majority and have a high-performing website. Suma said, yeah, I love pumping out so much content. I need to go and watch some Elon Musk motivation content again. No, you do not. Right, I'm going to end this. I'm going to start to wind down this video now. And this is where I'm going to say to you, believe in yourself, okay? I've only been using Elementor now for 14 months. I am getting ready to maybe potentially change my career maybe in the future and do web designing and promotions and things full time, okay? Believe in yourself. You can do this, okay? You are all experts. You know what? Compared to someone out there who does not know how to build a website or WordPress or Elementor, you are an expert. Even if you just started building websites today, you are more of an expert than someone who does not build websites. So believe in yourself, get ready, feel energized. Remember, there's the Elementor Community Day. On November the 18th, I'm doing a talk about mapping out your site and how to reduce clicks and how to deal with irritated clients who don't listen to you, and how do you try and convert them to your mindset. So hey, look, take care everyone. I'm going to wind down now. Thanks for joining in, everyone who's been for the chats. If you haven't already, please do subscribe and like our videos. Please do let others know as well. Look, I am not Adam from WP Crafter. I am not WP Tuts. I am not Ferdy. These are people I look up to. And I'm building my following. I'm getting myself out there. And I'm trying to keep our content real. I will not ever deviate from Elementor. If Elementor shuts down, then I might have to use something else. But I am not going to be doing Elementor. I don't like to do affiliations either. So I'm very careful with any companies that approach me. I don't like to say, hey, look, use this. And if you click here, I get a cut of it. I'm not really into all of that, except Elementor Pro. Go and buy it if you haven't. I make a bit of cut of that, but it helps me to maintain and buy the lights and cameras and stuff I use for this recording. But you take care. I love you all. I love chatting with you all on the Facebook community group, helping everyone out, innovating, and of course working with Elementor. But you take care. Ralph says that he's been using Enfold Avada for years, but Elementor really has me hooked. Oh my god. Elementor has just given me the power to do things that before you had to think a little bit. And the fact we have so many people using it, so many tutorials, so many videos and blogs, the Elementor community group. I think we're at over 9 million people using it. Hey, I love it, and I know you do too. Right, take care everyone, and I shall see you all soon. Love you all. Bye.